We have just a few more minutes here on the Now Morning Show, but we're making every minute count. And as we go across to another interview, Barbados Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Mottley, will deliver the feature address at the virtual launch of the Pan-African Festival on May 25th. To tell us more about it is Kafra Cambon, joining us via Zoom. He is the Director of the Regional and Pan-African Affairs of the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Kafra.
Yes, good morning. And thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. First time we're having you virtually. You're usually in studio here with us, but of course
This is my first virtual television interview as well.
It's your first time. Well, good for you. You're doing good
Yes.
so far. All right, so tell us what to expect. What do we expect to hear from the Honorable Prime Minister Mia Mottley?
Well, you know, Mia Mottley well, she's the most dynamic prime minister in the Caribbean now. Not only that, but on the world scene, particularly in relation to African affairs and our regional affairs. She is one of the most powerful voices that you have out there today because she's so committed, so passionate, and I would even say daring. And this year, there have been a lot of initiatives taking place. Some of them have been postponed to some extent in terms of the city relationship between CARICOM and the AUC. There was a lot of work going on the formalization
Yes.
of those relationships, which some of the critical meetings have been postponed because of the coronavirus and its impacts on just about everything in our lives.
Yes.
But she is the chairperson of CARICOM now, very dynamic chairperson, has been leading the charge in many ways and doing a lot to pull the Caribbean itself together. I think this is the really outstanding leadership that we are having from Mia Mottley.
And what is
we also have
Yes, go ahead.
program the deputy chairperson of the African Union Commission.
Yes.
Dr. Kwesi Kwartey, who is a Ghanaian. And he would also be bringing us a message from the African Union Commission. We've always had, with our organization as well as our emancipation program, we have had very strong relationships with the African Union, at least from when they started outreach to the diaspora.
Yeah.
The Caribbean is the first region outside of Africa to really be represented at different levels when it comes to civil society within the African Union. So it is a long-standing and very deep connection that there is right now. So
Well,
that would be
but that
reflected
is-
in the fact that
But that is exactly how it should be when we look back at the formation of Pan-Africanism and the founders and the fact that many of them came from the Caribbean itself. But tell us, what is the Pan-African Festival?
Well, our Pan-African Festival here is specifically centered on the emancipation
Right.
issue. Because what we have done is we've had this commemoration of emancipation for decades now. It restarted the commemoration of emancipation after it had died out, had been virtually suppressed. And then in the post-1970 period, that's why this year is so important. It's the 50th anniversary of the Black Power movement. And it is the National Joint Action Committee and the leadership of the Black Power movement that really revived this very critical commemoration, which had been deliberately suppressed for decades. So this is something which our people had to fight for. It became part of our struggle. And the Emancipation Support Committee, since its formation, has taken the lead role. And we have made sure that it has become institutionalized. And it is a very important part of the continuation of that struggle of 1970. It's a very important part of the continued development of African people in the society, in particular, it's a society generally, because if we don't appreciate those historical forces which are responsible for our society and the way it is, and those things which have the capacity to develop our people at a mental level, at a psychological level, if we don't have those things, if we don't institutionalize those things, then we cannot build the kind of society that we need to build.
Yes.
And this year we are making the connection between the Emancipation Festival and the revolutionary process of 1970 that was responsible for the rebirth of this commemoration as a mass commemoration, and one that embraces the entire society, and particularly strongly and emotionally the Africans in the society.
And can members of the public participate in the virtual
so we are
launch?
looking forward to a very wonderful program this year, within the limitations posed by COVID-19.
So how can members of the public participate? Because I think the virtual conference is happening in collaboration with the University of the West Indies, the virtual launch. And is it open to the public, or what happens next?
Yes, because what happens is that because you can't have public gatherings, we've had to use the available best possible means to reach out to the thousands of people who would normally be there in person.
Yeah.
So it is something new for us. I think we are adapting to it quite well.
Yes.
And people will be able to see it on television. They'll be able to see it on Flow Channel. It is
or UETV
102. And people will be able to go up on Facebook and be part of the virtual launch.
Right.
And there are a number of platforms. I have to read what the platforms are, but certainly Flow Channel on television, and certainly on people. Everybody has Facebook. Everybody has Facebook now, so from their Facebook they could see it, and we'll keep sending out information on the various ways in which people can access this launch.
So between May 25th,
it's going to reach a far wider audience.
Yes.
Than it would normally reach, even in the United States. And people in the United States are very excited about it, because when we sent out our publicity, we sent it out far and wide, and we have an international network of contacts, and people have been responding very positively to it and looking at how they are going to see it in their own environments.
Yeah.
And everybody can see it on their own systems.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's one of the benefits of the current situation, is that the reach has now been expanded through the various digital platforms, exactly what you just said. So between May 25th and Emancipation, I'd imagine that there will be a number of activities happening that you'll keep us abreast of.
Oh yes, we're gonna have the full range of activities, because from the launch, we're also going to have the drum festival, the Yoruba Village Drum Festival. All of it is going to be virtual, and unless some change permits. But right now we're thinking in terms of it as virtual. You're going to have the Kwame Ture Memorial lecture series that will actually open with a discussion on Black Power 50 years later.
Yes.
And we will have two persons from the United States, as well as from Trinidad and Tobago, in a very interesting panel discussion. And that is what would open it, because our theme this year is 1970 remembered.
Okay, well, Kafra, we're going to stick a pin, because
is talking in terms of recommitment to those ideals.
Yeah. Well, Kafra, we're going to stick a pin in it, because I know we're going to have you back on as we lead up to Emancipation Day. But all success on May 25th with the virtual launch of the Pan-African Festival. And I want to thank you for joining us virtually, your very first virtual interview. And that was Kafra Kambon, Director of the Regional and the Pan-African Affairs of the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago.